So for this one is factor theorem. Okay, actually factor theorem doesn't have any difference with the remainder theorem. The only difference is you are getting a remainder 0. So in the remainder theorem, your remainder will be any number other than 0. But when we apply factor theorem, right, it will be a case where the remainder is 0. So that means that you are dealing with a factor. So for example, in this situation, so this expression will be my fx. So if I'm going to divide this expression with x plus 2, so this x plus 2 will be my divisor. So if I do that, they didn't mention anything about the remainder, but from the idea of factor, means the remainder is 0. So you need to execute this concept of remainder 0. So it's a bit like you repeat your remainder theorem, except that right now your remainder is a 0. So you let the divisor equal to 0, like what we did just now. So the remainder should be f minus 2. So at this stage, I'm still doing something like the remainder theorem. Okay, so what is the missing idea? Since this is a factor, so I'm expecting the remainder to be 0. So my whole expression will be equal to 0. Okay, go and factorize. You should be able to get a equal to 3 and a equal to minus 1. So essentially, there's not much difference between factor theorem and remainder theorem. So the difference is when the remainder is 0, we rename the theorem. We rename it as a factor theorem. If the remainder has some values other than 0, then we just call it a remainder theorem. So that's one of the main things that you will be tested for polynomial.